What's going on? It's Stranger, and welcome to another YouTube music production video, where my mission is to help you succeed in making music. And in today's video, we're going to be learning how to make the bass line in a huge tune. It's Mackie G's Tour. Now, this is actually a bass sound that has been used in hundreds of jump up songs, so it's an essential sound to learn. And respect out to Mackie G for making such a huge tune, and congrats on all your success. Comment down below and let me know what is your favorite jump up track. And I know this is a popular one, so I'm going to say if we can get it up to 1,200 likes, I'm going to give you guys the project and preset for free. And if you want to stay updated on future videos and receive more giveaways, then make sure you hit the subscribe button. Also, share the video if you enjoy it. It really helps my channel grow. And make sure you stay till the end. I'm going to show you one extra neat little trick. Now, the goal of teaching you sound design is so that you can understand these concepts and then try something new with it. So I encourage you guys to explore and experiment, pushing the parameters and seeing where that takes you. It's all about learning, adapting, and then creating something new with it. This is how music evolves. And it's good that we're inspired by Mackie G. Let's take that inspiration, learn, and be yourself with it. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Okay, so we're going to be creating this sound with Serum today, and the key concept is that we're going to be implementing a fifth chord within the synth, meaning we're going to be playing two different notes between the oscillators. So if you haven't seen a video where I recreate the bass sound from Brucey's You and I, then I encourage you guys to watch that because it is pretty much the exact same concept. So oscillator A, I'm going to go into analog and set it to MB triangle. And then I'm going to adjust the wavetable position so I get some more of those higher harmonics. And then I'm going to enable oscillator B, set this to mellow but unstable under the analog section. Now oscillator B will be playing the fifth note of the scale. So we're going to be setting the semitones up to 7. So for those that don't have music theory, the fifth note of your scale is always 7 semitones up from your root note. Now we're going to set the octave up to 2, so it's playing 2 ranges higher. So oscillator A is playing the root note, and oscillator B is playing the fifth note 2 registers higher, so it's playing a higher tone. Adjust the wavetable position of oscillator B. And around there, it just sounds a little more open. And then we're going to enable the filter. And this is only applying to oscillator A. And we're going to use one of the low pass filters. Feel free to try the different low pass filters. They each have a different tonality to it. I'm going to use the MG Low 12. It just sounds a little rounder. And I'm going to set the cutoff to around 10 o'clock here. And this will remove those higher frequencies from oscillator A. Now we can bring the resonance up a little. And then we're going to use LFO1 to modulate the cutoff frequency of the filter. Now we're only using it as an envelope, so make sure you hit the envelope button. This just ensures that the LFO cycles only once. Now we can certainly do the same thing by using the envelope instead. However, I just like the interface of the LFO. So then I'm going to drag the crosshair over to the cutoff. And then I'm going to just click and drag that horseshoe icon to bring the mount down just a little bit. So this creates a little more movement for oscillator A. Now we're going to adjust the shape of LFO1. We're going to take this point and drag it here. Now you can hold Alt and drag and that will snap onto the grid. So this gives it a quicker attack. The point here is that we're using this as an envelope to create some movement within the sound. And make sure the rate is on the quarter note position. Now we can also apply LFO1 to the wavetable position of oscillator A and just bring the mount down a little bit. This just adds some additional movement. Okay, now so on to the fun part. We're going to go into the effects section and then we're going to turn on the distortion and we're going to bring up the drive around there at 2 o'clock. And then we're going to apply LFO1 to the drive and then click and drag the amount up. You'll notice a little red dot. It just means it's going past the max, and that's what we want. Alright, we're getting close. Now this is optional, but we can apply some hyper dimension. It just widens the sound. Just make sure to set the routing so that the hyper dimension comes after the distortion. I just find it sounds cleaner that way. Then adjust the mix of the hyper section based on your taste. Now you can increase the unison mode if you want more voices. It'll just sound more fatter. And then adjust the dimensions mix. I say around 10 to 13% is good. You can adjust the size of the dimension. Now you can turn on reverb. Again, this is optional as well. You just have to be careful with the reverb, otherwise adding too much will muddy up the sound. So just a little bit, and use the low cut to remove those low frequencies. And then just enable the mono mode. This just turns the synth into a monophonic synth, so you can only play one note at a time. This just ensures that we never have any overlapping notes, which we want to avoid when we're playing bass. Now we're going to turn on the portamento mode. This creates some glide when you transition between notes, and it makes it sound a little more funky. So bring up the portamento time based on your taste. I like it nice and short like that. Now for some extra oomph on the sub, we can go back to the oscillator section and we can turn on the sub and just send it to direct out. So it skips the FX section, so you get a pure bass note. Now adjust the level accordingly so it's not too bassy. Now you can also use a square wave. It just has a little more harmonics. It's up to you. I like the sine wave. It's a little more clear. Now since we have the sub oscillator on, we're going to want to remove some of the low frequencies from oscillator A and B. So going back into the effects section, I'm going to turn on my EQ. And then I'm going to enable the high pass mode with this button. And then set the frequency around 100 Hertz. That just gets rid of all the bass. Okay, we're getting very close. To further sculpt the sound, I like to apply an external EQ. We can use Ableton's EQ8. Now I like to bring up some of the higher frequencies. The reason why I like to use the external EQ is I find it a little more accurate to sculpt those higher frequencies. Around there, 4000 Hertz, maybe bring it up by 2 dB. You can tuck some of those mids as well. It just adds more definition to your sound. Now, sounding very close, however, I'm finding we need a little more drive. So I'm going to adjust the drive amount up a little bit. We're at 76%. I think that sounds a little more like it. Now I like to apply some additional processing to sculpt the sound. So I have Arteria's rev plate here. I'm using this really to drive the signal. There's some really good tube emulation here, giving you really nice saturation, which is why I'm using this reverb effect purely for its drive. However, I did increase the dry wet just a little bit. Now, just one thing, you might want to go into envelope 1 and then increase the release a little. That just gives you a little trail out when you let go of your key. It just makes the notes sound a little more natural. Okay, so now that we have the sound design, let's program some notes. So the bass line in Tor follows a quarter note rhythm, and this is a rhythm pattern used a lot in jump up drum and bass, so it's good to learn it. And it's written in the key of F minor. And it follows a chord progression of F, B flat, D flat, C. Now the bass note for this sound is on octave 0, so just scroll down to make sure we're down there. And then set the length to 4 bars. And then we're going to change the grid to the quarter note view. So we're going to write 4 quarter notes in the key of F, and then 4 quarter notes in the key of B flat, and then another 4 in the key of D flat, and then finally 4 in the key of C. So this is what we have. And then what Mackie G does is he pauses the first note, and then he moves the last F note here as a step up to the B flat. And then there's a pause here. Okay, we're getting close. And then there's this quick eighth note step down from the A like this. And then he goes up like that. And then move the last D flat down. And then switch the last two notes like that. And then I have a little drum loop here, so let's hear it all together. Okay, so that's the gist of it. However, he also makes a variation where he changes some of the notes on the second phrase and adds an E flat here and then switches some of the notes here. It's just nice to have some of that variation so it doesn't sound repetitive. Now I'm going to show you some other popular melodies using that quarter note rhythm, and you might recognize some of these. Here's another one. And then I wrote my own little bass line here with a darker tone. And notice how all these rhythms are using that quarter note rhythm and cleverly introducing certain pauses to give it more rhythm and having those eighth notes in between to give it a little more funk. So that's pretty much it, guys. I've showed you the basics of creating this popular jump up bass sound used in songs like Mackie G's Tour. And remember, the key concept is creating a fifth chord using the oscillators, setting the root note with oscillator A, and then setting the fifth note with oscillator B. And then it's all about selecting the right waveforms and applying modulation on the distortion and filter. Now, I encourage you guys to take this concept, learn it, and try pushing some of the parameters. Try experimenting with different envelope settings, different filter and distortion settings, as well as different waveforms, and see what you get. Now, I also mentioned showing you a neat little trick at the end. And what I did was I introduced an old school break and an old school square wave bass line. And this is what we got. We got something that sounds like 1995 old school jump up like Aphrodite. So as you can see, music evolves. So if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, and share. But that's pretty much it for today, guys. Thanks again for watching. Keep practicing, and I'll see you at the next video.